She thought she was upgrading. She thought she could do better. She thought divorce would be her ticket to happiness, freedom, and new opportunities. But now, at 36, sitting alone with tears streaming down her face, she realizes the truth: she made the biggest mistake of her life. This is the story of women who walk away from their marriages, only to crash headfirst into regret, and the wall.
And betrayed. That is what ran in my head just over and over and over and over again when my marriage was crumbling. And as someone who grew up the good Christian girl who tried her best to do everything by the book, leadership positions in the church, in youth group, campus ministry, leading Bible studies, poring over the scriptures, crying over worship songs, I felt so betrayed that my marriage was crumbling. I waited until marriage. I had my V card when I got married at 24. And part of me did think that there was this quid pro quo. You live the good Christian girl life, everything will be fine, everything will be taken care of, you get your fairy tale happy ending. And even though I still love a good Disney movie, I definitely can look back and think, like, that is what I wanted. Snow White was my favorite Disney princess. Not anymore. I wanted to be taken care of and be saved, really. I wanted to be saved. And it took me a long time before I realized no one was going to save me. Anytime I set somebody else up to save me, I was going to be disappointed, and I had to save myself. But I just keep going back to the betrayal and wanting everything to be different. I didn't want to get divorced. I didn't want to get divorced, but I could not see a path forward in that relationship. And that's not me speaking ill of my ex. It is saying that I walked into that partnership blindly, just so badly wanting somebody to save me, someone to hold me. And once I actually began to get to know myself, my real me, the me that's always been there since I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and I actually began to love her and want what's best for her, I knew that that relationship wasn't it. And even though he couldn't see it at the time, I hoped and I prayed that eventually one day my ex would be grateful that I did that as well. Because I know it seems like a selfish thing to ask for a divorce, but truly, the song that kept coming through was that, I think it's Bastille, I want you to be happier. I want you to be happier. I really played that on repeat during that season because it wasn't something I just wanted for myself. I wanted him to be happier too, and I knew that I was hurting him in that decision, but we were not going to be happy. So was I the perfect wife? Absolutely not. I was young and dumb, but I had good intention. And from that hard decision to walk away from my marriage, I really had no idea just what a tower card moment that would become. And if you know, you know. Just everything crumbling away. Lifelong friendships, people who've known me half my life. I call it the forced rebrand because you will have to redefine who you are when everything that you have clung to as a part of your identity falls away. And that's when the deconstruction began.
For years, modern society told her that marriage was optional, that husbands were replaceable, and that she should never settle. She was convinced there was always something better waiting. Social media, friends, and influencers pushed the same idea: if you're not happy, just leave. So she filed the papers, signed her marriage away, and told herself she was finally free. But freedom isn't free. And she was about to learn that the price was far higher than she ever imagined.
Once upon a time, I was a good Christian girl. I got married a virgin. I went to seminary. I led Bible studies. I shared my testimony in front of thousands. I was in praise teams that sang in front of hundreds and in front of thousands. I spent all of my free time with Christians, whether studying the word with them, whether living in community with them, whether volunteering with them, setting up my church, tearing down my church, serving our volunteers. I read the Bible cover to cover. I don't appreciate the assumptions about my ignorance and or Brits. You don't know us. You don't know our stories. I did not ask for my deconstruction. I didn't want it. Life was simpler when I saw life as black and white, good and evil, in and out. And I understand the comfort that people would draw from that. And I cannot unsee what I've seen, and I've had to go through immense therapy for my nervous system to be comfortable with the shades of gray that I am now operating in. But life is more free. Life is more loving. I feel more compassion for my neighbors globally and locally, rather than being quick to bypass their pain and assume that it is somehow their righteous punishment for their godlessness. If you can tell a tree by its fruit, the fruit of the church is rotten.
At 36, she enters the dating market again, expecting the same kind of attention she enjoyed in her 20s. But reality doesn't match her expectations. The men she once wanted aren't interested anymore. They're dating younger women, building families, and moving forward with their lives. The men who do approach her aren't the ones she dreamed of. For the first time, she realizes her options are shrinking, not growing. The confidence she had when she left her husband has been replaced with panic and regret.
Feel so hard. And when I tell people that I'm diagnosed ADHD and completely convinced that I'm on the spectrum but have not been formally diagnosed, people are like, well, you don't seem neurodivergent, you don't look neurodivergent, so it must not be that bad. My brain, I don't know peace.
Now the tears come. She scrolls through social media, seeing her ex-husband smiling with a new woman. She sees her friends raising families while she sits in silence, alone in her apartment. She cries because she gave up stability, love, and a family for a fantasy that never existed. She thought she would trade up, instead, she traded away everything. Divorce didn't give her freedom. It gave her emptiness.
And I'm really trying to figure out, at 36 and a half, who I am. Because I remember being told to my face that I was too much. Being told to my face that I was a polarizing character, or that I was patronizing when I was actually just trying to compliment them, or that I was stuck up when actually I just am a word nerd and very particular about the words that I pick because I don't want to be misunderstood, or I've lost friends because I've said something or done something insensitive, and I wasn't trying to be insensitive at all. I was trying to explain myself, and I probably was over explaining myself, and then it makes people feel weird. And then dating also was a nightmare because people are initially attracted to me, or maybe initially, they're into my allure or my charm or my charisma or whatever, and they think it's cute and quirky, but then I'm too intense. Then I come across too strong. And truly, the thing that drove me away, that stopped me from continuing to grow my community on here, even though I absolutely loved my community on here, was my inner thoughts, was constantly policing myself, was constantly afraid of misrepresenting. And when we're talking about big things like spirituality and deconstruction, I feel personally responsible for you and your spiritual walk, and I don't want to misspeak. And I'm not a doctorate. I don't have 5 theological masters, and there are people on this app who can speak so much more articulately about what they know about the Bible or about Christianity, or they studied apologetics, or they were a pastor, so they spent every week talking about the scripture, and none of those things are true for me.
And this is what it means to hit the wall. It's not just about age. It's about realizing the opportunities you thought would always be there are gone. It's about understanding that time is not on your side. The wall is the cold, unfiltered truth of choices catching up. For this woman, the wall came at 36, with heartbreak, loneliness, and an ocean of regret.
I never felt Christian enough to be a Christian because I didn't start going to church regularly until middle school. So all my friends knew all the words to Larry and what was the one? VeggieTales. They knew all the words to VeggieTales, and I didn't. And I felt like a late bloomer to Christianity, and then a really late bloomer to life because of how much I had to figure out about the world at 30. And here I am at 36, and I'm still trying to figure out, who am I? And how do I express myself? And what is my mask? Which was me just trying to fit in this world. And what is really epiphany? And is that enough? And I know if it was you sitting across from me, I would hold your hand and I would tell you it was, but I'm really struggling this week. And of course, the global environment does not help. As a highly, just sensitive person and empathetic person, I feel just completely torn apart today for many, many reasons. It just feels so destabilizing to the nervous system. And I wish within all of that I felt super anchored and connected to me. And I still feel like 6 years out from my divorce, my deconstruction, and 5 years out from learning of my neurodivergence, and 3 years out of learning my very much likely being on the spectrum, that I still am trying to figure out who I am. And if I learned anything this week with losing this app for all of 10 hours, I don't feel comfortable even being there. I don't know. I still don't know if I'm going to post this. I have missed this community so much. It was such a gift to grow a community so quickly around other people who felt my pain, trying to figure out who we are after our whole basis and thesis for life and existence is kind of stripped away from us. And I've said this before, and I'll say it a million times. I didn't ask for my deconstruction. Stop blaming me, people, for a part of my life that I don't know that I would wish it on somebody, which is the other thing. I don't want, by me sharing my experience, to put somebody else in that destabilizing space. I don't know. There's a lot of gifts, and there's a lot of freedom, and there's a lot more love and a lot less shame on this side of things. But your relationship with certainty is altered forever. And you really are building everything brick by brick up from there. So it's a trade-off. Anyways, I'm going to try my best to just not worry about those naysayers that are living in my brain, to not worry about views, to not worry about anything, and to just come on here and share more, because I think now more than ever, we're going to need to be here for each other. We're going to need to have this space, and I will not, what is it called, comply in advance by pretending that us as a community, that we're not real and that it doesn't matter, because we are real and it does matter.
The lesson is clear: marriage isn't perfect, but walking away in search of something better often ends in disaster. Divorce might look like freedom in the short term, but for many women, it leads only to heartbreak in the long term. Choices have consequences. And once the wall hits, regret comes crashing down with it. This has been the Sigma Chronicles, where truth cuts deeper than comfort. Stay sharp. Stay Sigma.
That's today's chapter of the Sigma Chronicles. Subscribe for more unfiltered reality.